Hi guys, I'm Claudia, Book Fanatic. Welcome back to my channel. And today I'm going to talk about the 5 new releases I am super excited for in April. The first book I'm going to be talking about is The End of Our Story by Meg Haston, and this one has already come out on April 4th. This is a YA contemporary romance. It's about 2 characters called Brigid and Will who have known each other for years. And they have also been dating for years. They went from childhood crushes to teenage lovers. But during her junior year, Brigid had betrayed Will in one way or another and shattered Will's heart. But then Will's family suffers a loss and Brigid is right there at Will's side. They start to heal all wounds and start falling in love with each other all over again. And this just sounds like something entirely different from a normal contemporary romance where people just meet at the beginning of the story. But in this story, the 2 main characters have known each other since childhood. Their relationship has suffered, but they are getting to know each other all over again, but they did know each other for years and years and years. So I think this is a very interesting premise, and of course, I love contemporary, so this is right up my alley. The second book I want to talk about is Letters to a Lost by Brigid Kemmerer. This book has also already come out on April 4th, and is obviously also a YA contemporary romance. This story is about a girl called Juliet who always used to write letters to her mother. Even after her mother died, she leaves letters at her mother's grave. There's also a guy in the story who's called Declan, and he has called all community service at the cemetery where Juliet's mother is buried. But then Declan reads a letter Juliet has written to her mother. He can't resist writing back, and soon enough Declan and Juliet are writing letters to each other and leaving them at Juliet's mother's grave. This obviously sounds super unique, not the writing letters to each other, because I've read it before in P.S. I Like You by Casey West, where letters are being written in a classroom, but just setting this being these letters being left at the cemetery is so interesting to me. I obviously also want to know why Declan even has called ordered community service. Like, I want to know what he's done, and I hope it isn't too bad. The next book I want to talk about is Defy the Stars, which is the first book in a new series by Claudia Gray. This book has also come out on April 4th. April 4th was a busy release date. And it is a YA science fiction. This is about a teenager who has sworn to protect her planet Genesis, and she's willing to risk everything to protect her planet, even her own life. But then there's also this robot called Abel. Abel was abandoned in space, and he has advanced programming that has begun to evolve. And then the main character, Noemi, I really don't know how to pronounce her name, and Abel meet and they form an unlikely friendship because they're actually supposed to be enemies. I heard of the Firebirds trilogy, I think it's called that by Claudia Gray, but I haven't read it. I do love the covers for that series though, but I am very excited about Defy the Stars, and maybe I will want to read something else by her if I really like it. The next book is Literally by Lucy Keating. It is a YA contemporary fantasy romance novel. I don't know, on Goodreads it's kind of a tie between contemporary and fantasy. I believe it's set on Earth in our world, but there are fantastical elements to this book. And this book has already come out on April 4th. This book is about a girl who realizes that her life is actually being written by the author, Lucy Keating. And this sounds like something I have never heard before, like a main character who's actually aware that her love story is being written by an author, and I cannot wait to see where this will go. And the last book I'm actually super excited for is The Most Beautiful Woman in Florence, a story of Botticelli by Alyssa Palombo. This book is supposed to come out on April 25th, and it's historical fiction. And this book is about a girl called Simonetta Cateo who has been dubbed the most beautiful woman of Florence, and she marries this guy called Marco Vespucci, and she basically becomes Botticelli, who was a painter in 15th century Florence. She becomes his muse, and she gets immortalized in Botticelli's masterpiece, The Birth of Venus. It's basically the story of Botticelli and of Simonetta. And I have read another book by Alyssa Palombo, which is also a historical fiction book set in 15th century Italy, which I absolutely love. I'm so interested in 15th century Italy. But Alyssa Palombo's other book was actually her debut novel, and that one was called The Violinist of Venice, a story of Vivaldi, and I rated 3 stars. I wasn't a big fan of it, but I obviously loved everything that had to do with art history and architecture. Like, I love that. I had an art history class in high school, and I got to learn so much about architecture and art in Italy, and obviously mostly the Medicis, because they were a huge part of Italy's art history. But I am so excited to read Alyssa Palombo's second book that she's bringing out on April 25th, reading more about 15th century Italy and her version of it. So these were the 5 new releases I am excited for in April. Let me know down below if you are excited for any of these releases, if you have read any of them, or what books you are excited for in April. I would love to know. Thanks for watching. Goodbye!